welcome to Tanakh Talk. I am your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with episode number 19 of Testimony Tuesdays. Tonight, ex-Christian to Judaism and Freemasonry, Journey of Lou Kahn. Welcome, Lou, to the show, brother. It's been a long wait. I was so excited to actually get you on like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was like, no, we missed it. Oh, man, that's okay. That's okay. This is something I've been really wanting to hear more about. And a lot of people are like probably thinking right now, looking at the title, thinking, man, I don't know. Let's watch this thing because you know this is some crazy stuff going on. And I'll tell you, I was the first one who thought that. And it took a lot of time. My understanding, I got to be careful not to rattle too much, but my understanding in the very, very beginning of the whole, and we'll get to the Freemason stuff later, but my whole thing on that, I was like, whoa, Freemason, I don't know about that, right? So It took me just as long to understand a little bit about Freemasonry as it did Judaism. I mean, it took me 3 years to leave Christianity and finally embrace Judaism, you know, and it's taken me about that long to do the same thing with understanding enough about Freemason to say, oh, I thought... You mean this isn't witchcraft? Okay, so I'm going to back up, first of all, and just tell you thank you so much for actually agreeing to appear and to tell your testimony. And we're going to cover all aspects from when you were younger. I want to know your family history. I want to know, in fact, we'll do a little block at a time. We're going to start off with, like, for example, were you a Christian from birth, or was it when you became a teenager? How dedicated were your parents? Were they, 2 times a year Christians? What do they call those? Casual Christian, or were they like really studious and really religious, whatever? And then into your older teenage life with girlfriends, with understanding of how your journey was transpiring. And then as your young adult life, and then how long it took you to say, wait a minute, what's up with this? Something's wrong. And then so we'll kind of cover all aspects of this because the passion for me for having this Testimony Tuesdays is I want to have enough stories out there that cover such a huge diversity, which is why I brought you on for sure also, so that everybody can hear something at least that someone has experienced before. You see, and one thing I don't want to have, and this is for the viewers out there, if you followed someone out of Christianity and you're a Noahide because your family told you to be, this is not a show I want to invite you on. People I want on this show are ones who were not casual Christians. They were studiers. They were people who really took their I call it religion seriously and dedicated their life to it, and they studied their way out. That's the testimony I want right there. And so this is another reason why we have Lou with me here on the show today, because he wasn't the casual studier. So Lou, welcome to the show, my brother. Please introduce yourself to our wonderful viewers out there.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I've been a long time watcher, and I'm glad you and I become friends.
Yes.
And I'm excited to tell my very, I think, unique story. The title of this episode scares me a little bit, ex-Christian, because I'm not sure that I ever really was a Christian.
Okay.
However, I am a product of an interfaith marriage, which
I got you.
is a big, very common issue, I guess, nowadays. There's a lot of Jews marrying Christians and Christians marrying Jews, and all types of faith, I guess, intermarrying, and I guess I was a product of that.
I will certainly, just to clarify, I will certainly edit the title because I don't want this to be confusing to anybody. Thank you for clarifying that. But that also puts a whole new spin on things, which is going to make this even more juicy.
But we can talk about this.
Okay.
This quite a bit. So
cool.
My genetic makeup, or my ethnicity, is my mother is Native American, so she's almost full blood Native American. She was born and raised in South Dakota on the Rosebud Reservation.
Wow.
So on one side I connect with that side of my family. She was raised. She went to a boarding school, Catholic boarding school, and there's a lot of terrible stories that happen in those days with the Native Americans being taken out of their families, and their their hair cut, and they were not allowed to speak their native language. So I can sympathize with a lot of people who are in different types of minorities for sure. Um, my father comes from is Jewish. My grandparents I grew up very close to, and my parents divorced when I was 4, and I lived with my father. So I pretty much grew up in a very Jewish culture, not so much religious culture, but a very Jewish
Right.
culture. And I spent weekends with my mom, and she was, I guess, always, a very spiritual person, and she liked to go to church, and she liked to go to, especially a Baptist church. My mom was a professional singer, by the way.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, explain. Because I love
Yeah.
singing too, so that's really cool.
So she was a professional singer. She sang just like Patsy Cline, uh,
Wow.
that kind of style. She was on TV in South Dakota back
Nice.
in the 60s. And so, being in the church and singing was really important to her. And for many years, she took me to church. And so, and I enjoyed it. To be honest, I really enjoyed it. I
Sure.
enjoyed the I guess the Baptist environment where everybody's singing, and
Right,
and
right.
there's a lot of it's a good time and people are happy, and but I don't think I ever connected with JC. I always knew there was a God. My mother always, growing up, I always believed in God and Hashem, but I don't think that I ever really, I guess, a true Christian where I believed in JC. Again, and I was very young. I was probably, 8, 9 years old, going to church with
Hmm.
my mom, watching my mom sing.
Can I ask you a
And
question? Do you
sure,
think do you think there's a possibility that there could be because my wife, it's really weird, she was a very dedicated Catholic. I mean, ever since she was a little girl. I mean, she went to Catholic school in elementary school, junior high, high school, and even afterwards she remained dedicated. But one thing she has told me over and over again, she goes, I never really quite accepted that whole, like you just said. It was almost the
yeah.
same way you said it, but not quite, but pretty close. And I'm wondering if there is actually, maybe there is a large amount of Christians or so that may actually feel the same way for whatever reason. Maybe there's a loop or an opening or a hole in the Catholic way of teaching things that's might allowing people to doubt more. I wonder. Is
I
that
I think you're onto something here, because I think there's a lot of people in not only in Judaism, especially.
right?
There's a lot of Jews who don't know what Judaism is, and what and what the Torah says, and what their faith really involves. And I think
Right.
there's probably a lot of Christians that have no idea as well. Catholics, all types of Christians that are just taught a very basic understanding of their faith, but really have no have no idea of what's going on in the Bible, and what who said what, and what the actual doctrine of their faith really says.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very unfortunate.
Right, right. Gotcha. Okay, cool. I didn't mean to stop you, but that's something I'm really curious about now because you're not the first person who was raised Catholic in that Catholic environment who has told me this. That they
Right.
that
So
they
yeah,
really
so I spent a
never right.
number of years going with my mother to church, and she moved away from Pennsylvania. I guess I was around 12, 13 years old. She moved back to South Dakota, pretty much back to the reservation. And I did go and visit a couple of times the reservation, and got to experience the spirituality of the Sioux tribe, and it was really amazingly moving experience.
Mm-hmm.
I got to experience a few very religious ceremonies. They do something that's called a sun dance, If anybody's familiar with Native Americans and the Sioux and the Sundance, it's a crazy spiritual experience.
Right, right, right.
Very, very,
It does.
very interesting.
It does make you like kind of go in awe and seeing the actual uh, all across the globe, people are trying to connect with a spiritual side. You know, because they know
Yeah,
they sense
I
there's
even
more to.
I even see a little bit
Right.
of similarity with the Sioux tribe and Judaism.
Wow.
The men and women don't dance together.
Oh, really? I
Uh,
didn't know that. Wow. Interesting.
yeah, there's no mixed dancing,
No way. That's cool. No
and
kidding.
there's a lot of dancing in a circle,
Right.
which is very similar to to
Yeah.
Jewish dancing.
Yeah. What?
And the Sioux believe in a great spirit, so they are
That.
monotheistic.
You know, that's a really good point too. They don't believe in many great spirits. They believe in a great spirit. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, they
Wow.
believe in a great spirit.
Huh.
Um, so it's a lot of similarity there. So I mean, I
Very
connected
cool.
very much with my Native American heritage. However, being brought up Jewish and being around a lot of my Jewish friends, I really always considered myself Jewish. In fact, the joke is that when I was a little kid, I used to call myself Suish.
That's like our Judy Tenuta joke earlier.
Yeah, because my mother
that
being Sioux and my father being Jewish, I know that was my own identity that I picked up. It was called
that's
Suish.
that's really funny. That's really funny. Okay, so how old were you when you detached yourself from the Christian I mean, like you said already, you never really attached yourself, but there was a point in time where you completely separated yourself from it.
Yeah, well,
When was that?
my mother moved away, so I did, without her, I'm not going to church. And I moved from an area where there was very few Jews to an area very close by that had a lot of Jews. So it was cool to be Jewish. Let's put it that way.
Right. Wow. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
So and again, it wasn't a religious Judaism. It was purely a cultural Judaism.
Gotcha.
So I when I was just out of high school,
Hmm.
dating all different kinds of girls. I dated a girl from in India, Indian girl. I had no intention of trying to find a Jewish girl. That's maybe not necessarily true. I was in the dating scene, and I'm trying to find a woman. I'm trying to find a girlfriend, and
Right.
I honestly did pray for a Jewish woman, and Hashem sent me this amazing Jewish girl, and we started to date, and things got pretty serious. And she said, why don't you come with me and my parents to synagogue? And I went probably for the first time on a Friday night, and started to go with them on high holidays, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah. But they were not religious. They were typical um, American Reform Jews who basically go to synagogue maybe 3-4 times a year. So it wasn't that big a deal. But even the 3 or 4 times that I went, I felt this amazing connection, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. I wish I could have went more. I didn't know there was more to it though at that time.
Sure. Sure. Wow.
So we got married in the Reform synagogue, and according to Reform Judaism, I'm Jewish. Your
Right.
father's Jewish. You're
Wow.
Jewish.
Okay.
So
So no, go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
go ahead. Yeah. So I got married and was married. I'm still married, obviously. Be 18 years
Nice.
actually in June. And things really changed about
Congratulations, by the way.
6 years ago.
Explain that. You mean your spirituality became more constant at that point? I guess.
Well, two major things happened, I think. One, I became a Freemason.
Okay.
That was actually first.
Okay.
And then second, I took a trip to Israel.
Okay. Let me jump in just for a second. So for me, and you already know this because I've told you this already, I know as much about Freemasonry as I do Kabbalah and as I do other things. So I can't critique it. I can't approve of it. I just know that my question for people is what you're doing, is it drawing you closer to the one true Creator? And that's what I ask everybody. Of course,
Right.
if you ask a Christian that, they'll tell you yes also. So I can't really say that's approval, but that's not my point. My point is, I don't know, you're going to educate us all a little bit about Freemasonry, because I personally am completely naive to it. I have no other idea. I learned one thing recently about it that I never knew. I thought that Freemasonry was like a religion.
Right.
But I was very, very well
It's not.
clearly told that if you want to compare it to anything, it's more like simply just a fraternity, like a fraternity in college. You can take all these different whatever.
Exactly.
It's not a religion at all. So we want to know more about it. We want to know first of all, why you went to Freemasonry, what caused you to go that direction, and also what's driving you to stay. And maybe there's stuff that we need to know that would be beneficial in future endeavors with other people who are Freemasons, so that we don't misjudge them.
Well, the biggest reason I became a Freemason was my father was a Freemason.
Well, that definitely explains a lot.
And my
Okay.
grandfather was a Freemason.
Oh, right. So you've got some heritage there.
Right.
Gotcha,
So I'm a
gotcha.
third generation, and one of my friend's fathers, who I knew almost my entire life, one day asked me, "Why aren't you a Mason?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that." And he says, "Well, you're going to join my lodge," and he gave me a petition, and I joined, and I really fell in love with Freemasonry. Really fell in love.
Let me
with
ask you a quick question, and then you can go back. This is going to be like we're going to zoom way out now and look at it as an overall. Have you found anything in Freemasonry that violates Torah or would lead you to contradict Judaism in any way?
No, in fact, the opposite. I
Okay.
think they're
Explain.
they're very similar.
Okay.
Very, very similar. And there's actually a very famous Mason in Masonic history, a guy named Albert Pike, who was actually a Confederate general. There's actually a statue of him in Washington, D.C., the only Confederate general to have a statue in Washington, D.C. And
That's
I'm
cool.
quoting Albert Pike. He says that the key to understanding Freemasonry is Kabbalah.
Wait, say that again. You said the key to understanding Freemasonry is Kabbalah?
Is Kabbalah, yeah.
Really? Okay. Interesting.
And that's what scares a lot of Christians.
Right.
I think.
Right. Well, here's something and I'm not going to look at the YouTube chat anymore, just because I really don't want to be distracted with it. But I did read something that makes you wonder, and this is maybe a good place where you can jump in and
Yeah.
tell us the proper understanding of what we should be seeing. Let me go back to the original comment. Where'd it go? Okay, it says, it would shock me. Okay, here we go. He said, this is Daniel something on YouTube chat. It would shock
Right.
me if he is Freemason now, and sadden me greatly that he doesn't understand how Freemasonry is a Vatican scheme against Judaism. Is there any way, if let's say that you agreed with him, which I know you don't, but let's act like you did for
Right.
a second, could you present something that would agree with his case, based on what you know?
Well, Freemasonry is it's a moving target, and let me explain why I would say that.
Okay.
There is no Grand Lodge of the entire world. Its history is very, very mysterious. So there's a lot of anti-Masonic rhetoric that if you go on YouTube, there's like thousands of probably anti-Masonic videos out there. Very, very few of them are put together by Masons. But I'm not sure where. I'm just trying to understand the question. I mean, the Vatican has really come out against Freemasonry. I forget what pope it was, but basically the Pope barred any Catholic from becoming a Freemason.
So you're saying the Catholics are actually against Freemasonry? They're not the ones who are at the root of it. They're
absolutely.
against it. Gotcha.
And my theory on that is basically goes back to Italy's independence. When Italy became independent of the Church and the Pope, it was Freemasons who were involved in that coup, if you would. I don't know if you want to talk about it. Every democracy in the world, including the United States, France, um, even Israel, has Masonic folks involved. A lot of people have no idea that. I'm not saying that Freemasons are responsible for the French Revolution, but it just so happens that some of the people who were in the French Revolution were Masons.
Gotcha.
And obviously, the founding of our country, they were Freemasons. Even some of the original Zionists of Israel were Masons. So
I've heard that I've heard through some books that are out there like King Solomon was a Freemason, and some people will argue that was on his downfall when he was whenever he was after he married all the women, then he became a Freemason, whatever. But who knows? I wasn't there, so I don't know what.
Well, one of the stories that is told in Freemasonry is, and you'll really appreciate this one, is that Freemasonry. The first name for Freemasons are Noahides.
Oh, really? That's funny. That's funny.
And we as Freemasons trace our roots essentially to Noah and the Noahide laws. And there's a document that we give Pennsylvania Freemasons that basically says that the first name for Freemasons is or are Noahides, and to be a good Freemason is to be a Noahide. Which when I read that, I almost fell on the floor.
Right, no kidding.
And I actually give lectures here in Pennsylvania, Masonic lectures, and I explained it. I read this out of a book that has been given to Pennsylvania Freemasons for the last 40 years, and I say. I quote the book and I say, listen, do you know what a Noahide is? And I haven't met one Freemason that yet knows what a Noahide is.
That's funny.
It is. It's really funny.
Right. Okay.
So if anything, Freemasonry and Judaism, all of our secret passwords are Hebrew. The story that we teach comes right out of the Tanakh. Like I said, there's a tremendous amount of Hebrew involved. In fact, there's a lot of anti-Masonic rhetoric out there that basically says if you're a Christian, you should not be a Mason.
Wow.
Now, the reason being is that these anti-Masonic people say that Freemasonry teaches that salvation can be achieved
outside
through good deeds.
Right, and that's what Torah teaches.
So
tzedakah, and repent and teshuvah. That's exactly how you achieve these things. You repent and you go back and fix those things that you screwed up. And you give to the poor, do good deeds, and that's the beauty of Judaism, in my opinion. You don't have to have any blood sacrifices and anything like this. So I can see the similarities now. So go ahead.
So unfortunately, in Pennsylvania, they have actually changed the ritual and the teachings, and they've taken that little tiny part out that concept of salvation, being, I guess, because it scared the Christians too much.
Right, gotcha. Okay, so tell me how now. How do you do? Because I know being a Jew, and I'm like I said, we're not converted yet. I don't know how that's going to be looking into any time in the near future. But I do talk to a lot of people, obviously because of the show and because of friendships on Facebook. The role of the Jewish male, the religious Jewish male, is very, very busy. How do you have time for both Judaism and Freemason? How do you fit it all in?
I am what's called a past master. So I was like the president of my lodge, which took a tremendous amount of time. So I did that before my conversion to Orthodox Judaism, and now I am sort of semi-retired.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
Right.
I'm not as active as I used to be because it's very uh, demanding being an Orthodox Jew. There's a lot going on, a lot
Interesting.
of things to do.
Wow. Okay, cool. So right now you would say your dedication is to Judaism for the most part.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah,
cool. That's cool. That's cool.
absolutely.
So let me. I'm going to back up again now. We're going to go. I want to go back to. First of all, I've had you up on the big screen. I'm going to actually share the screen with you now for a minute. Um, I want to go back now, back to where, just before your mom left, to go back to the
Right.
reservation. How old did you say you were at that time?
I was about 12.
Okay. And so I can see you being young enough there to where, that type of impression wouldn't have made a lasting impression on you anyway. Did you know, up to that point, did you know much about the New Testament? Other than just,
No,
no, okay,
no.
gotcha. What turned you off about it? And besides having your heritage as Judaism and your heritage as the Freemason, what turned you off about Christianity in general?
I'm not sure that anything really turned me off.
Gotcha.
Um, I just knew there was a God and that He ruled the world, and that if I needed to anything, I should pray to God, and He would take care of me, and that was about it.
Right.
That was about it. I mean, nobody ever explained to me the whole, JC, and He died for, my sins, and all the. I never learned any. I never really learned that.
Gotcha. So if
I only
somebody,
learned the songs. I only learned the songs that they sung.
so if somebody came up to you now, and even if they were a messianic or whatever, and they tried to pitch the New Testament idea to you, how would you respond to someone who would do that for you right now?
I would.
Now, of
That's
course,
a
you,
really
you
good
have to
question.
keep it.
It would depend.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a number of things that I would probably say that probably dispute with them, but I don't understand. There's nowhere, obviously, in Tanakh that says that where it says that a man can die for another person's sins or their entire world's sins. I mean, the New Testament is completely off base. I don't really understand where these concepts came from. It's just so totally not Jewish. It's not even funny. And there's so many other confusing things. Um, JC never had a father, so I don't understand how he could be. I don't understand how he could be traced to King David if he doesn't
Right.
have a father.
That is so amazing. And a lot of people don't know that a lot of Christians don't realize that the tribal lineage doesn't go through the mother.
Right.
It goes to the father. And a lot of people say, well, the lineage listed in the two gospels is the lineage of Mary. And it's like, well, first of all, they don't agree. They end up with two different names. Second of all, it
Right.
doesn't go through King Solomon. It goes through another one of King David's sons.
Right.
And thirdly, that wouldn't have anything to do with Jesus anyway. Like you just mentioned, that there's no paternal lineage there. It's only maternal, as they call it, which means you can't have anything there to prove his relationship with being a priest or a king, because there's no paternal
Yeah.
lineage at all.
Plus,
So
plus, there's just way too many mistakes in the Christian Bible. There's just
right,
way too many mistakes, and this is supposed to be a book from God.
yeah,
Any
right,
book from God can't have mistakes.
right,
There's no mistakes.
right. Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna kind of jump around a little bit. I said I wouldn't watch the YouTube, but actually I found a question that was actually a good one. Let's see, where to go. They're scrolling on me as I'm not watching them. He said, is there anything, if somebody wanted to get into Freemasonry now, I'm paraphrasing, is there anything in your commitment levels and all this other stuff that would interfere or augment their relationship with Hashem if they wanted to go into it now? And I'm not asking you this myself so that other people can say, hey, let me sign up. That's not my purpose. My purpose is, if somebody already has just signed up, or maybe last year, but they're wanting to take Judaism seriously, wouldn't that double relationship impede their speed in progressing with Hashem somehow?
Well, I've found that the Masonic ritual that we conduct on a regular basis, again, it talks about it tells a story that's right out of the Tanakh. So hearing that over and over and over again, and what I did myself in our ritual was try to dissect it and try to understand where these different things come from. I mean, we quote many verses from the Tanakh, and I said, well, why are Masons quoting these verses? And I tried to dig into it myself. I tried to find out
Right.
what is this all about, and why, and who, and so to me, it's just very, very complimentary. Obviously, I can't do anything on Friday night. We do, our lodge does things on Friday night. They do things on Saturday, so that leaves me out.
Right.
So, but I'm still active, and I still, like I said, I still now I enjoy giving lectures. I go around and I give a lot of lectures. People love to hear sort of the in-depth, decrypted aspect of what Masons do, and what the Jewish perspective is on it, basically, because it's very rich. It's very, very rich. I can talk for hours and hours and hours on the things that we do, and what the roots of these things are, now that I've learned it from a serious Jewish point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I had a visual image in my head. Was you just said something? There are certain schedules that they have that you don't give them. I guess you could say authority. You still your authority, your commitment is with Judaism. So if they say Friday night we have a meeting, then you're saying, sorry, dude, can't be there. But they don't kick you out
Right.
because of it, which means it's kind of like what I visualize this is kind of like. Now, granted, like I said, we're not Jewish yet, but when we do, I understand we're going to have a lot stricter dietary rules. I mean, we don't eat, anything that's considered an unclean animal. However, we don't really know how to. I know we're not expected to either because we're not converted yet. But for me, it's like even now, I still wouldn't eat pork. I wouldn't eat shrimp or catfish and the stuff. I would never touch it again because of what I know about it, right?
I mean, most Masons, their lodge meets twice a month. I mean, mine meets twice a month.
So my
usually,
point on that real quick. Let me finish this thought real fast because I was actually having a connection point. Is like when we will still go to a restaurant. We just will say, hey, we can't eat pork, so use
right.
a different oven, cook me a cheese pizza. It doesn't mean I don't go to this place. I just have them cook me something that I can actually eat. So
Right.
you're kind of doing that with this whole group thing. Is that they're?
I bring my own food. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
We have meals at our meetings, and I bring my own food. That's all there is to it.
You bring, most importantly, you bring your own religion. That's what people need to understand, that you can do that. You don't have to, you don't have to go to here and all of a sudden all your loyalty belongs to them. That's not how it works. It's a fraternity. It's not a religion.
Yeah, here's a little quote that I'll give you.
Okay.
Freemasonry is a philosophy of life, serious in character, built on a system of moral living, expressing a belief in a supreme being.
A supreme being. That's cool.
A supreme being and the immortality of the soul.
Nice. So far, so good.
It is not a religion
right.
or an alternative to a church or synagogue, but it is set in a religious character with moral content based upon two truths: the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man.
Gotcha. I don't see anything wrong with that.
That's a really good explanation of what Freemason is.
For me, what makes me feel the most comfortable is that they're not forcing you to show up on Friday nights. They're not forcing you to go out and work the community on Saturday. They're letting you do your own thing, and you show up when you want to show up. So,
yeah, exactly.
So
that's exactly. You get out of it what you put into it, and I chose in the beginning to really be involved, and then served my year as what we call the worshipful master, which is like the president. And now I'm retired.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. You know what? If it make you feel any better, I've heard just as much, if not more, bad stuff about Kabbalah than I have Freemasonry so far. And again, it's a journey. And like I said, I still don't know what I think on a lot of this stuff. I'm learning as I go along. So one thing's for sure is I'm really glad that you were willing to, knowing that your interview would be held to scrutiny that might be uncomfortable. You still were willing to come out and tell us this stuff, and it's like it's stuff that we need to know. Here's something else I'm learning, and again, I don't know what to believe yet. I'm still learning this thing. It's a process, just like the whole idea of Islam. The Muslims, all you hear about Muslim stuff, activity, is what you see on the news, and every bit of it's bad. It's always bad. So
True.
Naturally, when I see somebody with the turban, I like freak out. I'm like, oh my God, where's my gun? Oh crap, I don't own a gun. Give me a knife. I need to protect myself. But I know people personally who are Orthodox Jews who actually have Muslim friends and say they are some of the best people they've ever met in their entire lives. And it's like,
Yeah, we have an amazing Muslim brother. We call each other brothers, Masons. We call each other brothers. So I have an Islamic brother from Iraq who's in my lodge, and he has an amazing story. He lost his leg actually in Iraq. He was in an attack. I forget exactly what happened, but he lost his leg, and he came to the United States. He was able to come to the United States, and the Shriners. I don't know if I'm pretty sure you're probably familiar with Shriners hospitals, right?
yes, I've heard the phrase Shriners Hospital before.
Okay, well, Shriners are Masons.
Okay, gotcha.
You may not know that, but Shriners hospitals were founded by Masons, and the children that go to Shriners hospitals don't pay a penny,
Oh, wow.
and
That's
all of
amazing.
their medical care is taken care of for free. So this kid came to the United States, and he was taken care of, and the Shriners made a prosthetic leg for him, and they take care of these kids. They make
Wow.
prosthetic legs, they do cleft palates, they do burns, they do amazing things for children.
Wow.
And
That's
when I saw that, I wanted to be involved in that, of course.
Man. Yeah, that's pretty deep. That's pretty deep. And so, in kind of doubling back a little bit on the whole Muslim thing too, is I'm not saying that there aren't crazies out there, wackos. Just like Rabbi Singer said it best, Lou, one time. He said, even us Jews have our kooks. Everybody's got their kooks. You got the Christians who had the, where they went out on their little mission and destroyed and killed everything. You've got it in every group of people. You've got wackos.
Right. Well, it's funny you say that, because that's how I got it. I'm not going to say that how I got into really becoming Jewish, but I have several very close friends who are Hasidic Jews, and a lot of people think that they're crazy, and I'm here to demyth that concept. Of course, there are some crazy Hasidic Jews, but for the most part, they're not crazy. I'm here to testify to that.
That's really cool. That's cool. It's interesting. I've learned a lot over this past 2 years, that's for sure, and I learned a lot tonight too. I mean, you clarified some suspicions that even I had, and I've learned enough about it to be more comfortable with it, and I really appreciate that. And Lou, more importantly, I really appreciate again our friendship, you and I. And I think that you're an amazing guy. And also, I want to say thank you publicly to the handful of times that you actually came on and remoted in and fixed some really wacko, crazy problems we had in the studio about 3 months ago. Man, everybody was trying to fix it. No one could even touch it. It's like, you're like, oh, just go over here. I'm like, dude, no, it's not going to work. I'm like, whoa, it just fixed it. So that's cool. I really appreciate your help there as well. It's always been just nice hanging out with you, and you're really a joy to be around. I love your smile. You're a good man. You're a good man. And
well, I enjoy your show, and I think you're doing a great job spreading the words of Torah. You got some great rabbis. Awesome program.
Really appreciate that, man. Okay, well, thank you, brother, and we will talk again soon. I'm absolutely certain. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a great pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week, same time, same place. Of course, there'll be shows in between then. I've got Tomorrow night is Rabbi Coffman with controversial issues. And man, it seems to be getting more and more controversial as we go along. I may get banned from YouTube after this guy. And then, of course, Thursday night will be entry-level Biblical Hebrew Part 4, or Session 4, if you will. Lou, love you, brother. Take care, man. We'll see you again.
All the best.
Take care. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
אני אתה, אתם, תמיד, תמיד, כולם ביחד. חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה